Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Storm Collectibles 1/12 Action Series Mortal Kombat Sub-Zero. And not only is Sub-Zero the best ninja in all of the Mortal Kombat games, he's also not Scorpion, who is probably the worst. No, I'm just kidding. He's not the worst, but he's not Sub-Zero. And in fact, why don't you guys tell me in the comment section below which ninja is your favorite? Doesn't have to be Sub-Zero or Scorpion, though if it's not one of those two, you're probably weird. No, I'm just kidding. But let me know which one is your favorite. I personally like Ermac a lot, but Sub-Zero is my favorite. Okay, so moving on from that, this is the exact same figure as Scorpion in a different color with different gear. So not a whole lot to talk about, but we're gonna run it anyway because Sub-Zero is awesome and the figure is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just over 7 inches, maybe like 7 1/8, which makes it pretty close to, let's say, 18 centimeters. I think it's just shy of that. And so if you're paying attention, it says 1/12 Action Series on the box, or something like that. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but that's not even close. Unless this guy's supposed to be over 7 feet tall, it's not even close. Gonna point that out as long as it keeps being an issue, because it's an issue. It's too big for that scale. Does that bother you? Does it bother me? That's completely subjective, but it is not 1/12 scale. Buying it thinking it is will result in disappointment. It is much closer to the 7-inch scale, as people like to call it, and basically all their figures are at this point. So like I said, if that's a problem for you, fine. If it's not, also fine. I just had to get that out there. Okay, so this guy basically, here we go with the saying basically again. Why do I keep saying basically? It is the same figure as Scorpion minus the paint job. And I have to say, this guy's paint job is a lot cleaner than Scorpion. And this powder blue is probably not that much better to paint than yellow. So I think it's just maybe they upped their game a little bit, and I like it. The black lines are still a little wonky, but not too bad. But on Scorpion, if you do remember, or if you don't remember, because I'm telling you, maybe it was kind of wobbly back here, but on him, it's pretty nice. Pretty good, so I like it. Very aesthetically pleasing. His skin tone is a nice tan color. I don't know how accurate that is to this version, this rendition of him. Being Sub-Zero, maybe he shouldn't have much of a tan, but it's still a very nice color regardless, so that's good. One thing I'm noticing is they did a boo-boo with the anatomy. If you look right here, this muscle swings back. And you see that curve? That I can never remember the name of that muscle. The one that's between the tricep and the bicep. That shouldn't. It should go forward. So that's a little bit odd. Most people probably won't notice that, but if you know anatomy, that will stand out and bother you. But yeah, it does look very good. The face mask is still a little bit janky. Still doesn't fit quite right. So that kind of sucks, and it just doesn't want to go in place any more than that. It still looks good from a distance, but if you get too close, it definitely looks a little bit weird. See how the nose kind of sticks out funny, and not the best situation. I think maybe a custom head is in order that I could make, but it's definitely doable. You could live with it, probably. I can, and I would bet I am more sensitive to accuracy than most people, so whatever. Aesthetically speaking, it's very clean, so I'm going to give it a 9 overall aesthetically. It does need a better face mask, but it is pretty darn solid. As far as accessories go, this is where this guy really shines. Maybe the best accessory short of Terry Bogard's out of all the Storm figures ever. We'll start with the boring ones. First, we have the ripped spine and skull with the articulated jaw, and there's a ball peg to articulate the skull on top of the spine if you want. Very nice accessory. It looks pretty cool. Well done. Not much to talk about there. Then we have a blood spatter effect, which can snap on more appropriately to his right foot. You can make it work on his left, though, but you can snap that onto his right foot, and it'll look like he's kicking somebody or stomping somebody, and blood is squirting out. Very nicely done again. Then we have a hand, which is just an alternate hand, but it has the 2 fingers pointed out, and then the eyeballs flying out from presumably somebody's face. So very Mortal Kombat-esque accessory. They did a really good job painting those eyeballs. Very nicely done. Let's go ahead and talk about the hands. We have the 2 fist hands which come on them in the package. We have 2 gripping hands. We have 2 martial arts pose hands. And then we have 2 more hands which are basically karate chop hands, but they are also the hands which can be used with this ice accessory. And this ice accessory is really nice because as you see it right now, it has all of the extra prongs on there. You can take some of those off and it'll just have little nubbins left behind, so it doesn't look too bad, but you can also make it a smaller version of itself if you want. But it's very nicely sculpted, and the paint is clean enough. And then lastly, we have another ice accessory, which is a big one, which is like the Iceman surfing accessory. And this one, you kind of just assemble it and put his hands up to it, and it looks like he's shooting ice onto the floor. And that's pretty cool. I think the more kinds of accessories like this you get, the much more versatility you have in the figure. So that is awesome. I'm going to give the accessories a 10 out of 10. You don't really need more than that. The only thing it's missing is a display stand of some sort to keep him off the ground, like if you needed a jumping pose or something, but I don't think that's enough to knock a point given how good these other accessories have been. So that's awesome. As far as the articulation goes, we'll run it really quickly, though like I said, it is the same as before. The head is on a ball peg, which has another ball peg at the bottom of it, so it's a double ball peg down into the chest, so you can lean it side to side. You can see the neck flexes with the head. That's all right. And then of course the head can move around on that ball peg. It does seem maybe like they adjusted it, or mine's just really stiff, but I can't really get the head to move on top of the ball peg too much. Or maybe I said that about Scorpion and just don't remember, but it does seem a little bit limited there. His outer part up here is a separate piece from the black, so it will flex some. You have a ball hinge for the shoulder, which is connected via a ball peg inside the body with a skeleton. So it moves around like that. This piece is just a gap filler, and then you can use that ball hinge. And I have to say, his joints all feel very smooth. They're very creamy. No problems with the joints so far. We'll see if that pops up as we're going through the articulation. You get a little bit of noise here and there, but it's not like it's binding or anything. I don't think it feels like shredding, so it should be okay. Just a little bit of noise shouldn't be a problem, but you do have your full rotation. Your bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow is fine, somewhat encumbered by that strap. You can see it takes up a little bit of space. That's just the way these things are, guys. You can't have so much stuff going on and maximum range, so that's okay. You can live with that probably. Ball hinge and a peg for the wrists, so you can move them around like that. Ball hinges are always somewhat limited on the wrist just because of the nature of the arm, but that's okay. You do have another double ball peg in here, splitting the upper torso from the lower torso, and another ball peg at the lower torso. However, on this guy, because they connected his diaper, which is this piece right here, to the top part, which they absolutely should not have done, it is very restrictive. You have significantly less motion in the lower torso and even some in the upper torso. You do get to lean him forward, and it works. You can lean him back, and it works, so that part's pretty good. Upper torso is somewhat more usable than the lower torso, but even side to side is very limited because of how much material there is. You're just not going to have as much range out of it as most Storm figures. Rotation is significantly impaired because this part cannot rotate on top of the diaper. The diaper has to come with it, and it can't. You can see, in fact, that his special place is kind of binding against his leg because it's trying to rotate with the rest, and it can't. This part definitely should have been a separate piece, so that's a definite bummer. But you're going to be able to get enough posability out of the torso. I think that it's not that big of a deal, but it definitely would have been better if it was better. For the hips, almost full on splits. You can see we have the hinge there, and then of course they do rotate forward. Not perfectly horizontal, but pretty darn close. They do go back a little bit. You do have a thigh swivel in there. Double jointed knee has plenty of range. That's fine. And then for the ankles, they go far enough back. Not super far, but far enough. Forward is pretty limited without significant force, so that kind of sucks. You do get an ankle rocker, though it's at kind of a bad angle, and you get a toe hinge, which is floppy and pretty far back. So not the best articulation on this guy. I do think the original released ninjas have better articulation. This guy probably has an overall better aesthetic, though he is still very chonky and out of scale, but that's just something you kind of had to live with, I guess. So articulation on this guy, I'm only going to give it a 7. Most of it works well enough. You should be okay, but there's definitely some restriction here and there. And now it's time for the final verdict. I think they cleaned up a lot in terms of the aesthetic. It looks very, very nice. And the articulation is still limited, unfortunately. I don't remember noticing this bicep issue, or I guess it's not, it's the brachialis, that's what it's called. But that definitely is a weird anatomy issue. That's very strange. Maybe I did notice it. But yeah, it's not a perfect figure by any means, but overall very aesthetically pleasing and a buttload of accessories. I'm going to give it a, let's say, 8.5 out of 10 because the accessories are awesome. Aesthetic's pretty good. Articulation does pull it down, unfortunately, but still a very strong release. I don't think anybody who buys this is going to be disappointed overall. You might just have little bits of disappointment here and there for a few of the issues, but still a very, very nice release one that you'll want to get for sure before it sells out and costs $300 like the previous one. And stop saying it's scalpers, people. People are not scalping a figure that is long sold out. People bought them when they were new. Everybody wants them. Supply and demand. Basic. Very basic. Okay, there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, you probably should. I have new videos out just about every single day, and thousands already on the channel, so you can watch them when I don't upload anything every single day. Like, sometimes I don't. And in the meantime, keep collecting.